Hello and welcome back. Today we're diving into lecture 5. This is the physiology of respiration, gas exchange, oxygen transport. These questions here, they're designed to stretch your thinking using Bloom's taxonomy, going from understanding just concepts to applying them in those real-world scenarios that you're going to see in your career in performance, exercise physiology, clinical practice, personal training, and what have you. Now remember, a few of these questions also connect back to earlier lectures. These are those callbacks, and they're very purposeful in my opinion. They're that form of spaced repetition which strengthens your long-term retention of the material and hopefully helps you build more integrated understanding of human performance. So there's our pyramid of Bloom's taxonomy that we are going to go into. So let's get into it. 10 questions, increasing in difficulty, and each with a short explanation to hopefully help you retain those concepts. Question 1. Which structure directly enables gas exchange between alveolar air and blood? Is it A, the bronchiole, B, the alveolus, C, the pleura, or D, the trachea? This one's pretty straightforward. It's the alveolus. The alveoli are the functional gas exchange units where O2 diffuses in to blood and CO2 diffuses out. Pretty straightforward. We are starting at the bottom. But in contrast to the last lecture, we are going to ramp up pretty fast this time. Question 2. Which molecule carries the largest percentage of CO2 in blood during exercise? So just think about that. A, dissolved CO2, B, CO2 bound to hemoglobin, C, plasma bicarbonate, or D, carbonic acid. And this answer is C, plasma bicarbonate. It's about 60 to 80%. Most CO2 is transported as bicarbonate after being converted from carbonic acid. Another level 2. We're doing okay here. Question 3. When does myoglobin release the greatest amount of oxygen? Is it A, tissue PO2 less than 5 millimeters mercury, about 40 millimeters of mercury, greater than 80 millimeters of mercury, or during high pH situations? And this answer is A, tissue PO2 less than 5. Myoglobin really holds tightly to oxygen and does not want to release it. It only releases it when PO2 drops extremely low, which happens during very intense muscle work. When you think about it, myoglobin is very different than hemoglobin. It has to hold on to that oxygen. Question 4, moving up to apply. Which chemoreceptor response best explains the rise in your respirations at the onset of exercise? Is it A, CO2 detection by carotid bodies, B, PO2 detection by aortic bodies, C, H+ detection by muscle chemoreceptors, or D, the anticipatory feed-forward mechanism from the cerebral cortex? And this is actually D, yes. Ventilation rises much quicker than the chemical signals could send in the blood, which indicates it must be from cortical feed-forward control. This is that central command where you've got to start to increase, because if you wait for your blood to start circulating all those signals, it's going to take a while and you're not going to have enough oxygen. Question 5. Which factor most strongly promotes O2 unloading from hemoglobin during intense exercise? This might be similar to the myoglobin one. A, increased PO2, B, decreased temperature, C, increased acidity, meaning lower pH, or D, a decreased CO2. And this answer is all about the acidity. A drop in pH from accumulating CO2 and lactate shifts that hemoglobin curve to the right? That is the Bohr effect, which certainly enhances O2 unloading into that working muscle so it can get that oxygen it needs. All right, question 6, we're moving right along. During exercise, which change would increase the A-VO₂ difference? Is it A, decreased muscle oxygen extraction, B, increased mitochondrial density, C, lower metabolic demand, or D, reduced capillary density? And this one's B. The more mitochondria that you have allow your muscle to extract more oxygen, which widens that A-VO₂ difference. Fairly straightforward, but you have to apply the knowledge that you've learned in order to answer this question. Question 7. At rest, which typical value describes the A-VO₂ difference? Is it 4 to 5 milliliters of oxygen per deciliter, 10 to 12 milliliters of oxygen, 20 to 25, or less than 2? And this answer is 4 to 5, right? At rest, the muscle extracts relatively little oxygen, but during exercise, that extraction rises substantially. So you got to know where the baseline is, got to know what's high during exercise, and find your answer. So it's technically a level 3 question. On to question 8, we are moving up. Which respiratory pattern maximizes alveolar ventilation during moderate exercise? Is it A, shallow breaths at a high rate, B, slow breaths at a low rate, D, deep breaths with a moderate rate, or D, Valsalva? That one's tricky. It is C, deep breaths with a moderate rate. Increasing your tidal volume, right, your depth of your breath, increases that fraction of air that reaches gas exchange surfaces, not in kind of the dead space, but the respiratory space. So that one's a little bit harder, that you're moving up from apply into analyze, right, where you're trying to draw that connection among knowledge and concepts that you've learned in this class. Here we go, call back. Question 9, why does EPOC, remember that, increase after high intensity exercise? Is it A, greater lactate buffering and clearance, B, decreased respiratory drive, C, lower body temperature, or D, reduced sympathetic activation? The answer is A, greater lactate buffering. Above threshold exercise produces larger lactate loads requiring a longer O2 consuming recovery period. It's exhausting, but it's very enjoyable because you know you did a good workout and you are feeling the burn after. Last question, we're up to almost the highest level here in Bloom's Evaluate. Which activity will consistently show the lowest ventilatory equivalent? So that is VE divided by your VO2. Is it running, weightlifting, swimming, or football? Think about this one, pause if you need it. The answer here is swimming, yeah. So swimming actually reduces the work of breathing and respiration due to that hydrostatic pressure changes. And it actually tends to promote a more efficient ventilation. It's kind of neat aspect of sport that a lot of people don't think about. Well, that's it. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.